Have you ever felt like your own mind is your biggest obstacle? What if I told you that joy and peace aren't something you chase, they're something you train for? The ancient Stoics didn't just talk about wisdom, they lived it, and you can too. We all have moments when it feels like we're drowning in negative thoughts, like a heavy fog that follows you no matter where you go. Maybe it's that constant anxiety about what's coming next, the sudden bursts of anger that you regret later, or a quiet fear that keeps whispering, "You're not enough." These emotions do more than just tire you out. They slowly dull your sense of joy, robbing you of the present moment. But here's the truth, you're not alone. We've all been there, stuck in that mental loop, questioning how to finally break free. That's where Stoicism comes in. It's not just an old philosophy reserved for dusty books. It's a practical, powerful guide for navigating emotional storms. Stoicism doesn't tell you to suppress your feelings. Instead, it teaches you how to manage them so they no longer control you. It's not an easy path, but it's real, and most importantly, it's walkable. What you're about to hear isn't empty theory from a textbook. It's a collection of real-life insights shaped by personal struggle, sharpened by reflection, and anchored in timeless Stoic wisdom. So don't just watch this passively. Stay locked in. Each part of this journey will help you move one step closer to mastering your emotions and reclaiming your inner peace. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Your mind can create. Joy. Your mind is one of the most powerful tools you'll ever own. It has the remarkable ability to produce an entire universe of emotions, from deep sorrow and chronic anxiety to genuine happiness and unshakable calm. But here's the problem. Most of us don't know how to use it properly. We let it run on autopilot, replaying old regrets, stressing over imaginary futures, or amplifying problems that haven't even happened. And that's not because your mind is broken. It's because no one ever taught you how to play the instrument. Think of your mind like a piano. If you don't know the right keys, you'll hit the wrong notes. The notes of fear, doubt, and sadness. But just like a skilled pianist learns the art of harmony, you too can train your mind to compose emotional music that uplifts rather than drains you. Picture this. You're sitting in a silent room. Your thoughts begin typing out stories. Maybe about failures, maybe about things left undone. But what if you chose a different script? What if instead you recalled a moment of gratitude, a memory that made you smile? That's not fantasy. That's focus. Let's say you wake up and your first thoughts are stress, deadlines, conflicts, worries. Naturally, your mood sinks. But pause, shift your attention just slightly. You're breathing, you're alive. Today is unwritten. Just that small mental pivot can turn tension into appreciation. Joy isn't locked in the outside world. It's not hiding behind money, success, or approval. It's already within you. You've just forgotten where to look. And Stoicism, it's the flashlight. Stoicism reminds us that true happiness isn't about fixing every problem in life. It's about mastering the way we think. When we stop fueling negative thoughts, joy doesn't have to be forced. It rises on its own. Imagine this. It's a long afternoon. You're exhausted. The pressure of unfinished work looms over you like a heavy cloud. If you fixate on stress, your mind will keep producing more of it. Stress feeding stress, negativity, reinforcing itself. But pause for just a second. Look out the window. Maybe you notice the sky open and blue, or the leaves on a tree swaying gently in the wind. That moment, that tiny shift in focus reveals something powerful. Joy isn't waiting for you at the end of a checklist. It's already here. It lives in the way you choose to see the world. Seneca captured this beautifully. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. Yet so often, our minds are stuck, trapped between the past and the future. We dwell on what went wrong, or we worry endlessly about what might go wrong next. In doing so, we miss what's right in front of us. Think back to a day you spent with loved ones. Maybe it was a family gathering, but instead of feeling joy, your mind was elsewhere, replaying a work deadline or unfinished argument. That internal noise robbed you of the beauty of the moment, and in the end, it only deepened your dissatisfaction. But imagine if you had stopped, taken a breath, looked around and noticed the laughter, the smiles, the presence of the people you love. That single breath of awareness could have changed everything. Here's a small but powerful practice. Whenever negativity creeps in, pause and ask yourself, am I pressing the wrong key on my mind's keyboard? Then gently replace that thought. Think of something you're grateful for, a peaceful moment, a joyful memory. Understanding that your mind can create joy is the first milestone in overcoming emotions like fear, anger, or anxiety. Once you learn to master this tool, suffering isn't the default. Peace becomes possible. Because in that mastery, you stop feeding chaos and start creating calm. This isn't a theory to memorize, it's a habit to build, starting today. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Number 2, learn to master your mind. Once you understand that your mind has the power to produce both joy and suffering, a truth becomes crystal clear. Happiness doesn't come from your circumstances. It comes from how you handle your thoughts. But knowing this isn't enough. The next, more important step is learning to master your mind so it serves you instead of dragging you down. So how do you actually take control? Stoicism teaches a fundamental lesson. Suffering rarely comes from events themselves. It comes from the meaning we assign to those events and the way we choose to respond. Think of moments when anger took control. Maybe you shouted. Maybe you slammed a door, said things you regret. Did that outburst bring peace? Probably not. In fact, it likely made things worse. Seneca once warned, anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. So, ask yourself, is that fleeting moment of emotional explosion really worth trading your inner peace for? Here's the truth. Emotions like anger aren't monsters outside of you. They're not forces you can punch or destroy. They're internal, fleeting states of mind. They rise and fall depending on how you manage your inner world. Imagine your mind as a wild horse. Without discipline, it runs wild, uncontrolled, unstable. It can drag you into places you never intended to go. But once you learn to guide it, gently and patiently, it becomes your most powerful ally. So when anger or anxiety arises, notice it. Don't act on it immediately. Pause, breathe, and ask, why am I feeling this way? Is this emotion really worth the cost of my peace? Will reacting right now improve anything at all? This moment of reflection, this gap between emotion and action, is where true strength is built. Marcus Aurelius said it best, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Once you realize that every emotion begins with how you interpret what's happening. A powerful truth becomes clear. You always have the power to choose your response, and that is your ultimate strength. Life is a constant stream of challenges. Some days flow smoothly, everything feels light, calm, and easy. But on other days, even the smallest inconvenience, a traffic jam or a careless remark, can throw you off balance. In those moments, remember this: while you can't control what happens, you can always control how you respond. Think of yourself driving on a crowded road. You can't stop someone from running a red light or suddenly cutting into your lane, but you can choose your reaction, pause, yield, and stay safe. Life works in the same way. You don't control others or outside events, but you can always respond with calm. Mastering your mind doesn't happen overnight. It's like training your body. It requires patience, repetition, and discipline. You don't lift a single weight and become strong. It takes daily effort, one step at a time. For example, when you're overwhelmed with worry, instead of letting emotions spiral, focus on your breath and gently remind yourself, this too shall pass. Gaining control over your mind doesn't mean eliminating all negative emotions. It means learning how to live with them peacefully and mindfully. Emotions, whether joyful or painful, are part of being human. But when you master your mind, emotions stop running the show. You become the captain of your own ship, steady and calm, even in the middle of a storm. A well-trained mind isn't just a place to put out emotional fires. It becomes a fountain of joy, creativity, and deep strength. So ask yourself, are you ready to commit to mastering your mind? We'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's the biggest challenge you face in trying to control your thoughts? Have you ever experienced inner strength or joy by gaining control over your emotions? Share your story. It might inspire someone else. Lesson 3. Stop letting your imagination run wild. Now that you've begun to understand how powerful your internal responses can be, let's look deeper. When you feel fear, anger, or anxiety, have you ever stopped and asked, where is this really coming from? Most of the time, these feelings don't come from reality. They come from what we imagine could happen. Think back to a time when you felt anxious. Did your mind start crafting a worst-case scenario? Maybe you pictured yourself being humiliated in a meeting, or assumed that a vague email from your boss meant you were in trouble. But in reality, how many of those imagined situations actually happened? Probably almost none. As Epictetus wisely said, men are not worried by real problems so much as by their imagined anxieties about real problems. Most of our fears are fiction, mental stories, and the saddest part, we believe in them as if they were real. Imagination is a powerful gift, but when it runs unchecked, it becomes a double-edged sword. Our minds are like brilliant filmmakers, but unfortunately, they often prefer to create horror films instead of uplifting ones. Picture this: you're watching a movie in your head. Everything is dark, chaotic, and dangerous. Your heart races, your hands sweat, all because of images created in your mind. And when the movie ends, you realize nothing happened. It was all in your head. But ironically, that illusion still left real scars. So why not learn to take control of that mental projector? Think of your imagination as a creative director. Instead of crafting dark, disturbing stories, why not direct something light-hearted, a comedy, perhaps? What if that dreaded meeting you're anxious about ends in laughter? What if that vague email from your boss turns out to be praise? Just take a moment, close your eyes, and picture something that makes you smile. The same mind that creates worst-case scenarios can also build beautiful, joyful mental stories. Here's a real-life example. Someone receives a text from their partner that says, "We need to talk, urgently." Immediately, their mind spirals, assuming something is wrong. The partner must be upset. Maybe the relationship is falling apart. Their inner theater starts projecting scenes of arguments, breakups, and emotional devastation. But when the conversation finally happens, it turns out their partner just wanted to share an exciting new idea. All that stress and anxiety, completely unnecessary. This is how negative imagination works. It leads us down paths of fear and panic, even when nothing bad is happening. Recognizing that the mind often distorts reality is the first step to regaining power over your emotions. The key isn't to fight fear or anxiety. It's to stop fighting battles that don't exist. Because how can you fight something that was never real to begin with? Look at your fear and calmly say, "You're not real. I don't need to waste my energy on you." In a world full of uncertainty, your mind should be the kindest place you know. Don't torture yourself with horror stories. Let your mind paint gentle scenes, happy endings, and even romantic dreams. Seneca said it well. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. If reality is already tough, the least you deserve is a peaceful, kind inner world, a mental space where you feel safe, supported, and uplifted. The Stoic lesson here is simple. Imagination is not the enemy. It's a powerful tool, and when you learn to guide it, it becomes your ally. Because once you stop creating negative mental stories, you'll realize that reality, while still challenging, is often far lighter than you feared. And in that clarity, you'll discover something precious, true peace. Lesson 4. Reframe how you label emotions. Letting go of excessive overthinking brings a sense of peace. But that's just the beginning. To truly overcome negative emotions, you must change the way you label them. The way you define an emotion determines how much power it holds over you. Let's consider a familiar scenario. You wake up on a rainy morning. There's a pile of work waiting. Things feel off. You label the day as bad before it even begins. Frustration builds. You anticipate that everything will go wrong, but pause. Is the rain really the problem? Rain is neutral. It's neither good nor bad. It simply is. What makes it feel heavy or comforting is your perspective. One person may feel blocked by it. Another may see it as a perfect excuse to enjoy a cozy cup of tea indoors. When you change the label you assign to an experience, you also change how that experience feels emotionally. We often forget every emotion starts with a thought, and at the core, thoughts are just passing waves in the mind. The real problem is that we're usually not aware of what we're thinking. An untrained mind works like a chaotic machine, constantly reacting, rarely reflecting. Negative emotions like fear or anxiety don't have real power on their own. They gain momentum because we react unconsciously to the stories we tell ourselves. Picture yourself preparing for a big presentation. Suddenly, anxiety takes over your palms, sweat, your heart races. You start doubting yourself, but pause again, look deeper. Is anxiety truly your enemy? Or is it simply a sign that you care deeply and want to do well? Change your perspective, and suddenly, anxiety isn't a burden, it's a signal. one that sharpens your focus and helps you prepare. Emotions themselves aren't inherently good or bad. It's the meaning we attach to them that defines their impact. So in truth, there's no such thing as a purely negative emotion. After learning how to reframe your emotions, it's time to go deeper, to examine what lies beneath them, your thoughts. There are no thoughts that are purely positive or purely negative. All thoughts fall into two main categories: conscious and unconscious. Conscious thoughts are those you deliberately focus on, like planning, solving problems, or working toward a goal. Unconscious thoughts, on the other hand, are the mind's default stream, automatic and constant, like a river that sweeps everything along with it. It's in this unconscious state that much of our suffering is born, because it compels us to react impulsively instead of responding mindfully. Stoicism teaches that the key difference between a free mind and a mind enslaved by emotion lies in our ability to manage our thoughts. Many of us get stuck in an exhausting loop, constantly battling our emotions, trying to suppress or erase them, believing that getting rid of negative thoughts will bring peace. But here's the paradox: the more you try to force them out, the more power they gain. Try this simple experiment. For the next 10 seconds, don't think about a monkey. Can you do it? Chances are, your mind is now full of monkey images. That's how the mind works. When you push it, it pushes back. The same happens with negative emotions. The harder you resist them, the more deeply they take root. So instead of resisting, try accepting and redefining them. Anxiety might be a sign of how much you care. Anger could mean you're passionate about fairness. Fear may simply indicate that you're stepping outside your comfort zone. No emotion is your enemy unless you choose to view it that way. Life is full of challenges. Emotions, whether pleasant or uncomfortable, are simply signals from your mind, reminding you that you're alive, present, and still learning. When you shift how you interpret these emotions, you don't just rise above suffering, you unlock the ability to live more fully, with greater serenity and appreciation. Stoicism doesn't teach you to become numb or detached. It teaches you clarity, to see that every emotion offers a doorway to growth. If you've made it this far, congratulations. That says a lot about your commitment to self-mastery and your desire to take back control over your life. What you've learned so far lays the groundwork for deep transformation, and your journey is only just beginning. If you found this valuable, don't forget to like and share it with someone who might need this message. This chapter may be ending, but you now hold a powerful strategy to face whatever challenges lie ahead. Keep going. The most important part is still to come. Lesson 5. Understand how the mind works. One of the most powerful tools to overcome negative thoughts and emotions is understanding how your mind truly operates. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the human mind is the one thing we have the most control over, and yet, ironically, it's the thing we often understand the least. Without understanding how the mind works, we're vulnerable to cycles of fear, anxiety, and anger, becoming victims of our thoughts instead of masters of them. Picture your mind as a garden. If left untended, weeds, negative thoughts quickly take over. But if you care for it, plant positive seeds, and water them with intention, your mental space can become lush, vibrant, and full of life. Here's the catch: most people don't realize the mind doesn't work like scissors. You can't just cut out fear or doubt. In fact, the more you try to remove a thought, the stronger it grows, like an echo bouncing back, louder Try this again. Don't think of a pink elephant. The image pops up almost instantly, doesn't it? That's the nature of the mind. What you resist persists. Epictetus said it clearly. Men are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. It's not what happens that upsets us. It's how we interpret and react to it instead. Of trying to erase difficult emotions, ask yourself, what are they here to teach me? Fear, when seen clearly, might help you prepare better. Anxiety may be a signal that it's time to slow down or realign your priorities. Now that you understand how the mind works, you'll begin to see that negative emotions are not enemies. They are silent teachers, gently guiding your personal growth through experience. Think of your mind as a high-powered, beautifully engineered car, but without a driver, it can easily veer off a cliff. The mind is no different when left unchecked. It wanders aimlessly into mazes of anxiety, anger, and chaos. But if you take the wheel, if you learn to steer it, you can go wherever you choose. Have you ever felt frozen by anxiety right before an interview or an important presentation? Suddenly your mind begins playing the worst-case scenarios. What if I mess up? What if they think I'm a fool? In moments like this, try shifting your perspective. This is a chance to grow and show what I've worked hard for. If I make a mistake, I'll learn something valuable. And just like that, your mind begins to calm. You feel a sense of control returning. Here's another powerful truth about the mind. It works through addition and amplification. Whatever you focus on, whether good or bad, your mind will magnify it. For example, let's say you make a small mistake. If you keep replaying it and telling yourself, I'm worthless, that thought starts looping and eventually hardens into belief. But if you shift your focus and say, this doesn't define me, I can fix it, and I can grow, your mind will start amplifying positivity, helping you rebuild confidence. Understanding the mind isn't just about watching it. From the outside, it's a continuous practice. Start by simply listening to yourself. When you feel overwhelmed by negative emotions, take a pause, breathe deeply, and ask, where is this emotion coming from? Is it really as bad as I think? Is this worth losing my peace over? These simple questions help ground you. They create a gap between you and your thoughts, a space where awareness replaces reactivity. From this space, you realize thoughts and emotions are just passing whether they are, not you. Ultimately, the most powerful thing you can do for your mind is to understand it and accept it. The mind isn't your enemy. It's a tool, a companion. As long as you know how to use it well. So ask yourself today, which thoughts am I choosing to lead my life? Are they bringing me peace, strength, and happiness? That choice is entirely yours. Lesson 6. Detach yourself from your thoughts. Once you understand how your mind operates, you'll see that negative thoughts and emotions aren't who you are. They are simply natural byproducts of the thinking mind. But awareness alone isn't enough. You must learn to create distance between yourself and your thoughts. Otherwise, you'll keep getting swept up in the mental chaos, just like stepping back from a painting to see the full picture. This mental distance allows you to observe clearly, remain calm, and regain control over your thoughts, rather than letting them control you. Imagine this. You're sitting in an important meeting, and suddenly a thought appears. What if I say something wrong, and everyone thinks I'm incompetent? That single thought sparks anxiety, maybe even fear. But pause and ask, is it really true that everyone will judge me? Or is this just a story my mind is creating? In reality, What causes distress isn't the event itself, it's the interpretation your mind attaches to it. By creating space between yourself and your thoughts, you gain the clarity to see they are just mental whispers, not the truth. Begin building that inner distance. The first key is simple yet transformative. Observe your thoughts as if you're standing outside them. Picture your mind as a wide open sky, and your thoughts as passing clouds. Some of them are light and gentle, others heavy and stormy. But no matter how dark the clouds get, they never stay forever. And more importantly, you are not the clouds. You are the sky, vast, still, present. When you realize that your thoughts are just passing elements, not the whole of who you are, something shifts inside you. You start to feel a quiet strength awaken. One practical way to create this emotional distance is to name what you're feeling. It sounds simple, but it's powerful. Let's say you're feeling anxious. Instead of drowning in it, try gently telling yourself, "This is anxiety. It's here, but it's not me." That simple act of labeling your emotion is like switching on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, things become clearer. Modern psychologists support this too. When you name your emotions, you reduce their intensity. They become more manageable, less overwhelming. And Stoicism has always taught the same truth. Awareness is the first step toward mastery. Often, when negative emotions take hold, we shrink. Our focus narrows. We obsess over the immediate problem and lose sight of the bigger picture. This is when perspective becomes your most powerful tool. Ask yourself, will this still matter in a week, a month, a year? Is this within my control or not? As Epictetus reminds us, if the answer is no, it's outside your control, let it go. If the answer is yes, you can influence it. Shift from emotion to practical action. Another way to create that essential space from your mind is to practice mindfulness. Whenever a thought or emotion arises, pause, breathe deeply, feel the inhale and the exhale. Bring your focus gently to this moment. This habit not only soothes your nervous system, it also reveals the true nature of thoughts. They're like a river, always flowing. They move through you, but they are not you. You don't have to jump into that river. You can stand on the bank and simply observe. And the more you observe, the more you realize your mind can be your enemy or your greatest ally. When you learn to master it, you no longer fear life's challenges. You no longer feel enslaved by fear, anger, or anxiety. Instead, you begin to meet life with calm, centered resilience, the kind a true Stoic carries into every situation. Not because life is suddenly easy, but because you've trained yourself to face it differently. If you're ready to step into that mindset, affirm in the comments, "I am not my emotions." Let that be your declaration, your first step in turning understanding into practice. And once you've embraced that truth, it's time to move forward with the final lesson of today's journey. Lesson 7. Continuously train your mind to combat negativity. Once you've created space between you and your thoughts, it's time to transform that awareness into a daily habit. This brings us to our final, and perhaps most important, lesson. Never stop training your mind. For a Stoic, mental discipline isn't a weekend project. It's not a quick fix. It's a lifelong commitment. Negative emotions like fear, anger, and anxiety will always exist. They're part of being human, just like shadows are part of light. The key isn't to erase them, but to respond to them differently. And that's where true strength is born. Yet many people still hope they can cure negativity. They believe that reading a few self-help books or watching a few motivational videos will solve everything. But that belief is an illusion. Think of it like trying to hold a ball underwater. You can keep it down for a while, but the moment you stop forcing it, it shoots back up, stronger than before. Our minds work the same way. Suppressing negative emotions only makes them more powerful. And when they return, they bring the weight of everything you've avoided, instead of running from them. Stoicism teaches us this: face them, accept them, work with them, because that, not escape, is where transformation begins. Previously, we explored the importance of consistently training the mind, not to eliminate negative emotions entirely, but to live with them calmly, consciously, and with clarity. Now, let's take that lesson further. Training the mind is a long-term journey. It's not always easy, but if you stay committed, it will lead you to true freedom. Freedom from emotional reactivity, from inner turmoil, and from being ruled by thoughts that don't serve you. Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen." Just like a fig needs time to ripen, your mind needs daily care and consistent effort. And the process begins with the smallest actions. When you feel anxious, instead of letting that anxiety take over, pause and ask, will this still matter 5 years from now? This is more than a stress relief trick. It's a method for training your mind to take a step back, to see problems from a higher, more distant vantage point, where things seem less overwhelming and more manageable. Imagine this: you're an employee preparing to present in front of your boss. Suddenly, anxiety creeps in. You're afraid of messing up, being judged, or ruining the presentation. In that moment, you have two choices: let fear control you, or use the situation as a training ground for your mind. One powerful Stoic technique that helps in such moments is premeditatio malorum, premeditating the worst-case scenario. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And if it does, how will I handle it? Once you're mentally prepared for even the worst outcome, fear starts to lose its grip on you. You can begin building mental strength through a simple daily ritual. Spend 5 minutes each evening writing down the emotions you felt throughout the day. What made you anxious or angry? How did you react? What could you have done differently? This reflective exercise helps you understand yourself better, and over time, prepares you for similar challenges in the future. Each time you write, you are cultivating the ability to observe emotions from a safe, conscious distance, a core Stoic skill. Training the mind is not a one-day task, and there is no final destination. It's a lifelong process, a slow, steady path of improvement. You won't be perfect, but what matters is that you keep showing up. Day by day, your mind becomes stronger, calmer, and more composed in the face of life's uncertainty. Overcoming negative emotions isn't about defeating them. It's about learning to live with them, with grace, patience, and control. We've just explored 7 powerful and practical methods rooted in the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, all designed to help you overcome negative thoughts, emotions, and mental chaos, from understanding that your mind can create both joy and suffering, to learning how to observe your thoughts from a distance, to reframing how you interpret and label your emotions. Each method gives you a clear, actionable path to reclaim your inner peace and build emotional resilience. And at the core of them all lies one essential truth. Your mind must be trained consistently. These aren't vague theories. They're real, applicable strategies that you can start using right now to become more grounded, peaceful, and resilient every day. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to click like to support the channel and help spread this message to others who may need it. Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your insights, experiences, or what resonated most with you. Know someone who could benefit from these ideas. Send them this video, it might change their life. And of course, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because we have so much more valuable content coming your way. Thank you for watching, and always remember, the power to change your life begins with you.